Back. I don't know what just happened. If I was a conspiracy theory person, I'd say, oh my God, I've been hacked. But let's get started again. So I'm having a fundamental issue with people sharing white fragility as an anti-racist resource. It is not. White fragility is a book that sits firmly in white studies. This is not the time to have white studies. It centers whiteness and it does not talk about the harm or the everything has a cause and effect because we're a system. White fragility does not fundamentally address the issues of when white people feel something, the impact and the harm their feelings and their actions based on those feelings cause to the most vulnerable. So let me break this down. So, as I said, white fragility is a academic term. So, which is the book is written by Robin DiAngelo, and I'm having a fundamental issue with the fact that that book sold out and now is back in. As a white woman, we should not, as a white author of a book about white studies, we should not be sharing that book now. Again, I have nothing against um, Robin DiAngelo or her book. It is just not designed for anti-racist work. What white fragility does is an again, it's an academic term, and this is where you need to be careful when you take theory and put it in the real world. Right now we're testing a theory, and I've decided based on what I've seen in my communities and how because I used to recommend it, I no longer recommend this book for any I don't recommend it for inclusion and diversity work. I don't recommend it for anti-racist work. I don't recommend it for anything except saying white people are uncomfortable when they talk about race. White people are uncomfortable when they talk about any fucking thing that they don't want to talk about because whiteness, by design, by the script, by the narrative, has to be the hero or victim and never the villain. So, what white fragility looks like in the real world, following the narrative of never, of always a hero, a victim, and never the villain, what happens is some white person does some shitty thing, and then everybody comes to the say, well, look at their white fragility. No, 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 no. That's not fucking white fragility. That is harm. That is toxic, and that is trauma because people are impacted by the fact that white people have never been taught history. So it is, for me, the best way to fundamentally get white folks out of their feelings, because again, I don't give a fuck about your feelings. So that's why another reason why white fragility doesn't work for me. I don't give a fuck about your feelings. I don't care about your feelings when I'm being harmed or when my community is being harmed. And that's what white fragility helps facilitate. So what I've discovered is by fundamentally getting white people to understand and learn real history that does not fall into the narrative of whiteness always being the hero, of a victim, and never the villain, but understanding that whiteness is the villain. Whiteness has always been the villain. It is situated firmly in white supremacy. So when I have people listen to my first resource for any white person who is trying to understand any of this shit is to set aside trying to be anti-racist at this moment and get a history lesson. You need to be listening to Scene on Radio, and that's SCENE on Radio, season 2 podcast series called Seeing White. It is a foundational historical piece that you need to understand. When white folks get that, then they realize, oh shit, I'm feeling this way because I've never been taught this shit. I never knew this shit existed. The history that I've been taught, that everybody's been taught, is rooted in white supremacy and whitewashing history. I don't need once people go through that series, they don't need white fragility. They understand how fucking ignorant whiteness is. Everybody else understands. I understand my history. My community is showing me my history. I'm hearing people telling me in their fucking 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they've never heard of Emmett Till. How the fuck in 2020 do white people not know about Emmett Till? My community is still mourning this black boy from I think it was the 50s. We're still mourning him. And you don't know it, and you don't know it by design. And this is why I say whiteness is racist by design and can't be trusted by default without consistent demonstrating anti-racist behavior. If you just woke up 2 weeks ago to what the fuck's going on, you ain't ready for anti-racist behavior. I need you to sit your ass down, listen to Seeing White on Seen on Radio podcast, and understand how, how whiteness has fucked us, fucked indigenous communities, and fucked you. And again, I have a lot of international followers. This is not just a US issue. I need you to go back and look at your fucking history and see all the ways whiteness has been whitewashed so that you are, or your culture, or your whiteness is the hero or victim and never the villain. Please stop sharing Robin DiAngelo's white fragility. So this is what happens. I'm gonna give you several instances of how white fragility fucks up and people don't understand that everything has a cause and effect. So I am a manager in a company, right? I have um, Mary is my subordinate. She's a white woman. She has done something that needs to be corrected. Maybe she missed something in training. Maybe she misunderstood something. It doesn't matter. It's not a huge issue. It's not she caused catastrophic harm or anything. It's just I need to correct Mary on what the fuck she's done. First step of that, I, as a black woman, this is where white fragility does not take into account. I have as a black woman, have to calculate how I'm going to give this information, this reprimand or this correction, because it's not a reprimand, a correction to Mary without Mary getting upset. Because I know in my experience, when I correct someone who looks like Mary, I become a villain. So let's say this. So I'm processing in my head. I'm gonna say this, and then I sit down to craft the email. I bet particularly black women, every black woman or black person, but particularly black women, who has ever had to craft an email to a white person has spent way more fucking energy trying to craft a message that does not hurt Mary's feelings rather than getting to the point of what the hell I'm writing the email about. So I'm spending time crafting the email, going back and forth, making sure, and inevitably, when I hit send, depending on where Mary's head is and where her feelings are, it can go sideways real fucking quick. So Mary can see this not as a correction, but as me being aggressive, because you know we use this, y'all use that aggressive term on us, on me being intimidating, me being angry. And when Mary says any of those words, anything that is legitimate, even if I have documentation of the needed correction, goes out the fucking window, because now Mary is centering herself as a victim, and whiteness comes in and shields her. So now I'm the victim as her supervisor, and everybody's running to Mary's aid because she's crying or whatever the fuck she's doing. And we never get to the fucking problem of the correction that I need to make a Mary. That is what white fragility misses. So let me give you another example. So we all saw the white fool in I'm not even gonna call her fool, because that again makes her not responsible for her fucking feelings. So the person, the central part with the lady and the dog and the black guy who was bird watching. So she shows her complete racist ass, right? She even speaks the narrative that she knows will get this man, if not arrested, but potentially killed, right? She sees consequences to her actions. She gives a bullshit apology, and that's not the end. The narrative is whiteness is always the hero or victim and everybody else is the villain. So whether he understands or articulates this and not, as is, he accepts her apology. It happened the same way with and I can't think of his name right now, I apologize, with the police officer who shot the man in in his own fucking apartment. And his brother, when she apologized, his brother hugged her. The fucking judge hugged her, because that's the fucking narrative. Whiteness always has to be the hero or victim and never the villain. And if we saw this with Christy Teigen when she pushed back on Earl Girl and did not essentially accept her apology right off the bat. Everybody started dogpiling on Christy because she didn't accept the apology. And then she has to go back and accept the apology. Whiteness is always the hero or victim and never the villain. I need you to start seeing the fucking pattern. Whiteness is always positioned as hero or victim and never the villain. And so this is why we have to stop sharing white fragility as an anti-racist resource. It is a academic term and sits firmly in white studies. Now is not the time to study whiteness. Now is the time for white people to fucking study real ass history. Okay? I hope you get that. Thank you and have a wonderful day.